morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are live from our separate social distancing locations throughout the DMV, and this is the Neighborish live cast. I'm Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, and with me, as always, are two of the dopest individuals in the DMV. First of all, our resident feminine energy, uh, personal trainer and fitness guru, Miss Fruit Fit herself, Patrice Jones, and good morning, good morning. And DC's native son, the SE3 representative, Jay Sun, is with us. Good morning,
Hey,
sir. And we got a great show for y'all today. I've known our guest since high school, but you guys have probably seen her on her feature segment on Channel 7's Good Morning Washington. She's a fellow graduate of Eastern Senior High School, but that was a long time ago. Today, her
Stop
company.
telling no age, Dave. Stop
All
telling
right,
no
all right.
E-ball.
But today, her company's website, Taylor Homemade, features a plethora of delicious recipes centered around the idea of cooking fresh. You can also purchase her signature infused oils and spice blends to add that Taylor Homemade touch to your own dishes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Regina Taylor is with us. Welcome. It's so good to have you
Hi.
here. How you
Thank you
doing?
for having me.
Definitely, definitely. You have an awesome story, and I'm really excited and looking forward to getting into it and talking about your journey. But first, as we typically do, there's a lot of things going on in the city, in the country, in the world that we need to talk about. So we're gonna talk
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
what's going on, Dave?
It's a lot going on. But before I always jump right into it, I want to before I do that, man, how you guys doing, man? I ain't talked to y'all, I ain't seen y'all in a while. How's everything? Y'all hanging in there, hanging tough in these
I see
COVID
you all the
19
time,
streets?
Dave.
You said what?
I see you all the time, Dave.
Well, not you specifically. Patrice, how you doing? You
Okay,
good?
all right.
I'm,
Yeah, I'm
I'm,
good,
I'm
thank you.
hanging. I'm good.
That's
I'm
good.
hanging. Yeah. Just
I
still
see you
trying to.
outside. I see trees with the wind blowing in the
Yeah, I gotta get some
distance.
energy. I don't know if y'all into, but like 4 planets are in retrograde right now, so that energy. I woke up with my energy a little off, so I just needed some air outside of being sitting in my car that y'all always talk
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So I mean, I just go to the window and let the sun come in the window. I don't go outside, but
It ain't
every
no
now and
Sunday. You gotta go out in the elements.
then get the air and stuff. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm actually going. I'm gonna go outside today. I'm going to the mailbox, so I'm gonna do that later
Good
today. That's
job,
a
Dave.
big,
Good job.
that's a big
Way to
move.
get that half a mile in.
Exactly, exactly. But speaking of the coronavirus, it's still something that's huge on everybody's mind. At the time of this broadcast, approximately 1.5 million cases have been confirmed in the United States, and while 281,000 people have recovered, there have been 89,000 deaths in the U.S. And these numbers are still staggering. Now, hearing all of that, it makes you kind of wonder, like, so what are we doing? Like, what happens now? Well, for the past few months, we've been hearing the term flattening the curve, and the curve refers to the number of cases going up drastically. Since this whole thing has started, and if you're like me, you've been wondering like, how's that going? Like, are we flattening the curve? So actually, a lot of reports are saying we are. NPR.com is reporting that the latest data indicates that the number of new cases reported on a daily and weekly basis have decreased at a rate that leads officials to believe that we're finally getting a handle on this pandemic. Now, while that's great news, it doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet. While national numbers are starting to decline, there are specific areas, localized areas, where the cases are still increasing. So it's imperative that we continue to practice social distancing, wearing masks, and making sure our hands and our environments are clean and sanitized as much as possible. So I just wanted to give a little bit of information because some people, you hear terms like flattening the curve,
Oh
and
shit.
well, you don't like me giving people information. He don't like the people to learn nothing. He
I
just
don't like your
want.
list. You having like a list.
Well, I ain't got a list. I was just telling you what.
Oh, you got a list today?
Nah, nah, no list, no list. I know you.
Okay.
You're a hater of my list situation,
I
even though
am.
I'm
I am.
trying
I'm
to,
sorry. Well, I'm not
get some
sorry, but
information.
I'm
So
glad that you don't like that I don't like your list.
yes, yes, I understand that you are not a fan of the lists of me providing the people with much needed information. But anyway, So, like, I know by now most of you have probably heard the name Breonna Taylor. It's windy out there, ain't it?
It is.
Yeah, it sounded like you
A
jumped
little
off a building,
chilly.
Patrice. I had to check on you, but yeah, but seriously, I know most of you by now have heard the name Breonna Taylor, but if you haven't, she's the 26-year-old EMT from Louisville, Kentucky, that was murdered on March 13th by 3 police officers who burst into her house at 1 a.m. while executing a search warrant. The police, who were in plain clothes and not wearing body cameras, originally asserted that they announced their presence before and during entry into Brianna's home. Her boyfriend, who's a registered gun owner, was startled by the intrusion, believing they were being burglarized. Fired shots at the intruders, hitting one of the police officers in the leg. The police officers returned fire, striking Brianna 8 times, and she was mortally wounded. Um, Now they're saying that the warrant that they had was what's called a no-knock warrant, which is a warrant that provides the police officers the ability to enter a location without knocking or announcing themselves as the police officers, announcing themselves as police officers in an effort to preserve evidence. But the warrant itself now is in question because it alleges that an investigation by the Postal Service revealed that Brianna was receiving packages for a known drug dealer. But the post office is now saying, post office officials are saying that even though they did investigate the claims, it was found that it wasn't true, that she wasn't receiving any other packages. So they're saying that the officers lied to the judge to be able to receive the warrant, which I know Jay is saying this is nothing out of the normal or nothing out of the ordinary, you know.
That's exactly what
Yeah, and your assertion, and like I've been saying, man, it's so hard for me to, to debate you on the notion that it's a war, on
I'm
us.
trying to debate with Dave.
Yeah, I can't no more. Like,
Accept the truth, my brother.
It's no debate. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the war.
let's believe Dave has been debating me for years about the severity of this system and its outlook on, Native Americans, Ancient Americans, Black people, Africans.
People
I've been
of color.
debating with Dave about this for 20 years.
People of color, yeah, and definitely, but so now the attack that seems to be focused on our women though, like it's so crazy
It's
that
not
so
now.
many
It
women.
always has been.
But yeah, well, I mean, it's more. And so, do you think that it's more?
It's got cameras nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I was
You
about
can
to
see
say. You
stuff
think
and
it's
stuff
it's
gets
just that it's
caught.
more televised now and more in the forefront because of all the cameras?
But it's nothing new. It's nothing new at all.
Right.
Let me hold on. Let
Color
me take a
women
quick break
is
in
the
your
most disrespectful species on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Let me take a break in your segment, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
But in war, the most powerful living element in the universe is a black woman. So if you're in a war, the strategy is to cut the head, because you can kill all the dudes, lock up all the dudes and all of that. But the women are the key, because one, they are like the equivalent, the physical manifestation of what science calls God, right?
Yeah.
And so if they can create anything, any human on the planet, any color, any shade, they just like, it's black matter. They're like physical black matter.
Right.
And then secondly, you can do whatever you want to the men, but the women still have to raise the rest of the men.
Right.
So the ultimate strategy, the leadership of black people is black women. Despite what niggas say, and what niggas say in their rap songs, all that shit. Don't listen to them niggas. Like the head of the black family is the black woman.
Yeah.
And so she is always public enemy number one. It's made to seem like it's us because we get like the physical violence, like they pop us in the head and lock us up and all of that. But the real strategy is getting into the minds of the black women that have to raise the rest of the men. The black women are always the target.
There. And that was Jason's fist up moment for the day.
I got more in here.
Appreciate it.
Shows
You got
get
some more? Yeah, we
fist
just started. Yeah. That was okay. So that wasn't the official fist up moment.
We'll
Okay.
give it half a fist.
You okay? It's almost up. It's like that high. It's not all the way up.
Not all the way up.
We're gonna get
but
into
kinda
it
A
like
little
though.
bit more.
But it's interesting that you should bring up the rappers. I want to talk a little bit, and it's the reason I'm bringing this up. It's a question
Did
that I
she
have.
say? I think she had to say something. What's your name, sister? I forgot. I'm
Regina.
sorry.
Her name is Regina. You got to read the notes
Regina.
that I send you.
Did
But
you have
anyway,
did you want to say something when I was
I
in the
think she
middle of my
said it.
rant?
No, she said it already,
I
right?
said
Oh,
it.
okay.
You
He
was
was
right.
He was vibing with you.
he
She
was
was
so
Okay,
hard
okay,
vibing.
okay.
ranting
I
that he
ain't
didn't
want,
Get two
even.
you know,
fish.
when I
There
get
you
my zone, I
go.
lose focus.
Get two fish.
But yeah, on the topic of the rappers, so 24-year-old Daniel Hernandez, better known as his stage
Oh
name
man.
Takashi 69. Stay with me, Jay. Is back in the news. As you know, he just recently got out of jail. He turned state's witness and snitched on a bunch of people. But apparently, snitching ain't it doesn't have the repercussions or ramifications that it used to. Cause he got out, he put out a song, he made a bunch of money. But here's what I wanted to talk about and my question to you guys. So he was trying to make a donation to a charitable organization called No Kids Hungry, and it was a donation of $200,000 to help support their efforts to keep America's starving youth fed. And the charity actually rejected his donation. In a statement, the charitable organization said, "While we appreciate Mr. Hernandez's generosity, um, as a child-focused campaign, it is our policy to decline donations from donors whose activities do not align with our mission and values." And as a company, I can definitely understand that. They don't want to have anybody donating to them that's outside of what they're working towards. And he definitely is not for the kids. But so my question is this: in a time like this, where so much is going on, so many people who would typically donate aren't donating, and organizations like that are struggling. Companies are struggling. J.C. Penney just filed for bankruptcy. A lot of big companies are
Still
folding.
open? Damn.
Yeah, they was holding on, but
I thought J.C. Penney was closed.
nah, they still hanging on.
They still hanging on, huh?
They got them
They,
slacks,
their
man. You
time
gotta
is
get your
over, nigga.
slacks.
It's over for
But,
them.
but anyway, is it feasible for a charitable organization that works off of donations and nobody's really donating? Is it feasible for them to be turning down donations from anywhere? Like, if your overall goal is to feed hungry children, you can't really do that without the money. So, should they really be focused on, where it's coming from?
Mhm. Like our mothers and our, elders used to say, all money ain't good money.
That's true.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So so they got the right to say no. Like you got to think about it. If you had a business or a company, would you want to be affiliated with that? Like you wouldn't want any
Definitely.
part of it. So I think they have right to say no.
Yeah, yeah. Jay, you wanna Patrice? Y'all guys wanna?
Yeah,
I
I got
think
a
it's
couple things, but I want to hear Patrice.
I I I'm gonna go left again, like I always do. Um, I think many organizations that deal with feeding children and doing stuff overseas and all that receive monies that are less than attractive, I'll say.
Hmm.
Whether it's from a pedophile or somebody that's been affiliated with that as an organization or as an individual. But I think overall, yeah, hip hop or whatever it is he does, I don't listen to all of his music, but
Yeah, me
that
either.
imagery of hip hop will always receive some sort of jab in the media. So I don't have like a solid opinion about it, but um, that's my overall outlook. That
Well,
they somebody made a statement with that. Somebody that was a some type of political statement, I think. Because that's
Okay.
I think it's a little deeper. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Jay because he's gonna take it out of level.
Well, real quick, let me just say I was thinking about that aspect of it too, about how but and I guess the visibility plays into it just because Takashi is so visible as an individual. But there are definitely people who donate to these things who donate either anonymously or only known by the people who are in the corporation. I wonder if he did it more anonymously, if he would have been rejected, or if they would have. Because I mean, he made a big show of it because he want people to know, that he's still got money and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely thought about that aspect of it and how because he's a rapper and because he's certain, even though he's like Hispanic and white, but still, he represents the culture of hip hop at this point, unfortunately. But still, he does, and that's So I thought about that aspect. But go ahead, Jay. What you got?
Yeah, well, to agree with both of these lovely sisters this morning, first off, I don't trust none of them organizations anyway. They be taking all types of money from murderers and rapists and pedophiles and all of that. So I don't trust them anyway. Like and all of these nonprofits that people be sending money to, like if they like on the ground level, like in the community, like these outside organizations that come in our communities and raise money for our what they call them at risk youth, like what I'm saying, like all so first off, like you know it don't matter, they contradicting themselves because I know like Patrice said, they've taken money from people who who have done extreme worse measures than this little boy. And then second of all, like the other sister was saying, like
Her name is
and
Regina.
I knew. I just said my bad.
Research. I'm messing with you. Go
I
ahead.
just interchanged pronouns.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, but on the quest to get this guacamole, bruh, it's like you want it via grace and in perfect ways. Like she said, man, all money ain't good money, and it's like like yeah, we all could live or attain the wealth and the status that we want. But if it ain't via grace and in perfect ways, like it's gonna be some shit with it.
Yeah.
And that's why our grandmamas and our great grandmamas told us that.
I think it was a publicity stunt for him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. And that's what I was saying.
And
Maybe
I
if you
think
did it.
that's part of the reason why they turned it down. Like, you
Right.
got to think about it. Look how much money Jay-Z and Beyonce, for example, donate all the time. They don't announce it. You
Right.
find out like months and maybe years after they donated. It's
Yeah,
not announced
yeah.
because it was genuine and it was pure.
Yeah.
For him, he just came out. Oh, I just got out of jail because I snitched on everybody. I got a new song I want to drop.
Yeah.
What else can I do to put my name out there so people can be talking about it? That's what
Yeah.
it was about. I don't think it was genuine. And I think the organization felt that, and they didn't want to be used as a ploy for him.
Yeah. That's it.
And the flip side, like he was talking about nonprofits and stuff. I worked for nonprofit for maybe 8 years. I'm not gonna go too deep, but all that money that come in
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
don't go to where it's supposed to go.
Already know.
Yeah.
I'll say
yeah.
that. I'll
yeah.
say out of 100%, maybe 35 goes to where.
And that's
Yeah.
being generous.
That's being
Right.
real generous. 'Cause,
That's so they won't get sued.
Three
Right.
nonprofits, and
Yeah.
that's what it was about.
Right. Yeah, I think I noticed. I used to work at Safeway, and they had a partnership with Susan G. Komen, and not knocking them at all, but I just noticed like when they had a representative come in and she was talking to us about their organization. And just listening to what she was saying, if you pay attention on a certain level, she's like, yeah, we have this many thousands of employees throughout the world. We have a headquarters in Manhattan. We have, all these different things. And I'm like, how much do y'all pay for that? Like the advertising alone, like where's the money going? Like, so all this money is, that people are donating. You got us at the registers telling people, make sure you give to breast cancer research and all this. How is it reaching ground level? Like, and it's definitely not. A lot of it is going to your rent at your Manhattan headquarters. Your, paying all your employees. And not that people shouldn't get paid, but if the goal is to raise money, don't, mislead the people and have them thinking that the money that you give is actually getting into the hands of somebody who's.
But that's the whole game of the nonprofit.
Right,
It's a capitalist venture,
Yeah.
and it tugs on the emotional aspect of human beings.
Right.
So it's like these nonprofits thrive in this capitalist society. How else can you thrive in a capitalist society
Right. Yeah.
unless you get mad?
65% of the donation goes to the CEO's Manhattan condo
Right. Yeah.
and they Jaguar, and the rest of the money is split between the charities
Hmm.
and all the employees.
Right,
That's
right.
how they get paid. It's a yeah.
Yeah.
We got some
Yeah.
comments, Dave.
Yeah, what you got?
All right, so my homeboy Tim, who tunes in a lot now. What's up, Tim?
Shout out to Tim.
Hi,
So his
Tim.
yeah, that's Tim. His first comment was like, they also say money is the root of evil. So is there such thing as good money? Yes. Hold
Well,
on. He got more. He got more.
well, can I
And
respond to
then,
that real quick?
yeah, go ahead,
Just
Dave.
the that notion. The actual quote is the love of money is the root of evil. Talking about man's passion for money, as opposed to actual money itself. Because money is paper, is green paper, like we talked about before. It's not. The only reason it has the value it has is because we say it does. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, his other statement is bigger than the organizations though. It's about the children in life we all have at one time set aside our personal agenda to help out. I know my mother had made many of sacrifices to raise me. Yeah, and that's kind of like what I'm saying about these organizations. You know, any organization that comes into a community it comes into a community that isn't of the community should be looked at with a side eye. You know, even if they do have the resources and the ability to give certain I guess gifts or helpful gestures. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying like from our interaction with Europeans, we should always look at any organization that comes into our community that is not of that community, and we should just look at them with a side eye. Not say that they evil, not saying that they devils or nothing, but I learned that sentiment from Marcus Garvey. It's just it's an instinctual protection for ourselves that we as black people seem to be the only race on the planet that is not real good. Like,
Can I interject, Jay?
yes, please
So
interject.
one of the reasons that we don't question, and I'll give you an example. In my apartment complex, on the door one day when I was walking in, it was a sign asking for young boys between the ages of 12 to 15 to go to this camp, and they was gonna pay the families $1,000. And I was thinking to myself, how many people in this building actually said, you know what, oh my God, that's great. I
That
need the
sound
money.
fishy as
We don't.
Right.
We don't. And as
Listen
soon
to
as I
Garvey.
looked at it, I thought about I need to protect my son. I would never even think of it. I don't care if I had a minus 500 in my account, I wouldn't. But this is why, because so many of us suffer from what I believe is Stockholm syndrome, and it's passed down from generation to generation. And so when Stockholm syndrome says, your abuser or your overtaker or whatever, you have a sick love for them. And so when you look at them, you don't question their motives. And a lot of people in our communities, that's how they move. And so when someone comes in to save the day and they don't look like us, what we should be doing is what you speak to, Jay, all the time, and that's organizing as a community and as a family within a community, whether it's food, business, etc. We don't look to that. We look outside. And so when the outsiders come in, we're like, oh, they so nice. They did this, they did that. And it's so.
Yeah, and it's cool. That's definitely the case. I believe, and it's definitely manufactured. You look at all the movies, the white savior movies, where it's the inner city people and they struggling and they can't do nothing, but then here come the white person to come along and not bashing any white people that are watching our show right now, but we hate all of y'all. No, but I'm just kidding. No, but
and honestly, it don't
he's
even
only speaking for Jay, everybody.
They don't even have to be white because we live in such an eclectic mixture of people right now, as long as they don't look like us.
Yeah, so
if they don't look like us, we look like, oh, they saving the day, and you guys losing their connection. Sis, I think it's just me and you. Y'all there?
No, we here. I can see you. Yeah, we here.
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's you that's losing
that's,
connection. Anyway,
as
but
long
go
as they
ahead.
don't look like us.
But
It's all in my high vibrations, it's my frequency.
yeah, they start hearing you speaking that truth. They like, cut her off. No, but
it happens every time, doesn't it?
yeah, you start to get
yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a deep topic. We could talk about that for hours and hours.
One more tidbit. One more
What
thing,
you got, Jay?
Dave, just real quick. So even if you know the name of the organization?
The organization that he tried to donate to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called No Kids Hungry.
Okay. So I don't know nothing about their organization to be talking smack. But if indeed they are, let's just say for argument's sake that they are a community grassroots organization from whatever community that they're in, started by people from that community trying to look out for their children in the community, right? Which they're not. I'm not sure. I don't know about it. So either here or there. But if they are, they probably is like, well, from a community level, we ain't taking money from no snitch, period, who's publicly known as a snitch that just got out of jail. Like, if they are like a real hood organization, they like, oh, nah, Slim, we ain't taking your bread still. You know what I'm saying? So either way, they ain't taking the bread.
Right, but let me ask you this, because that was one of the things that I noticed in researching this was he, got out of jail. Like, he put out a song called Gooba or something like that, and I listened to the song just to see. Well, it was terrible, first of all. But the last line of the song, he says, what did he say? Something like, I ratted and still came home to a big bag. So he's like bragging about being a snitch. Like, does snitching have the same?
Here's the contradiction, Dave. He is representative of the street culture that's out here now. These niggas out here snitching like crazy. Yeah. He just famous. It's like it's a rack of niggas out here snitching, like go hard niggas, like tough niggas that niggas is scared of. But they home cause they snitch. Like that code been gone since like the 90s. Like it's multiple snitching ass, fake ass niggas out here surrounding us, and we pointing the finger at this little suburban kid who got caught up in some gang shit. They did him dirty. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he doing what I would expect a nigga like him to do. He ain't from that life, and everybody know that he not about that life. But this niggas that's in that life out here on the blocks right now that has made that the norm culture. Snitching done been a culture since the 90s. The code been broke for 20, 30 years.
They started hitting niggas with them sentences and niggas.
Yeah, exactly, because they started giving them football numbers. Then they niggas start realizing like these streets is dirty. These streets don't love you, but it's like they don't figure out that the streets don't love them until they behind the cell.
Until they sitting in
like,
front of
really
detective.
Me, and they trying to send me up for 20, and they say if I snitch on the nigga that robbed me, that smashed my baby mother, that hit my mother, and I get out in 3, it's like fuck that nigga. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no honor amongst thieves no more. Like that code been broke. It ain't start with Tekashi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey Jay, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You the only dude I know can go from Marcus Garvey to Huey P. Newton with a gun in your hand and it's pen five.
They had guns too. Shit. Yeah. It ain't no different. It's different stages, but it's the same energy.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
that's what I'm saying. You saying in that space, but when you went from left to right, but it all came
Because
together.
we try to make it out like he's doing something that like, oh, I can't believe he do it. When you look to your left, walk outside, look to your left and to your right. It's 50 niggas that did the same shit, but we ain't collectively as a community outing them or giving them no shade or you know what I'm saying? Like it's a whole bunch of shady shit that go on in our communities that we had codes and street laws that we abided by. Because I know niggas that been sat down and ate some years for they man. Because they, they not going to snitch on their code D. Because Charlemagne made a good point about this. And he was like, if you in that game, whether them niggas fuck with you or not, like if you decide to go in that game and be of that culture, it's like part of the rules was like once you in this shit, you can't snitch. You can hate the nigga. But it's rules, it's integrity that and pacts that you make with yourself.
I don't know.
It ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. But I'm just saying, all I'm saying is like that shit been gone. Tekashi is just he's probably the son or grandson of the generation that the code was lost.
Yeah. Is it integrity though? Because like you could be mad and hate the nigga and kill him, but you can't snitch on him.
The game fucked up. That's what I'm saying.
It's weird. It's weird. It's just weird. I never got it. It's just weird.
He makes a good point. Even though he's a snitch, he makes a good point. He was like, they didn't show him no loyalty. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's like, but Charlemagne's point was, it don't matter. You decided to be in that game. And so, like, that's a part of the quote-unquote unwritten
I don't even
rules
think he was
of that
acting.
game.
Just like he doing with the money, I think he was acting. He wasn't trying to be in the
Right,
game.
exactly.
It
But
just got real quick. You know.
right, and so now you got to choose whether, like, you gonna finish the script or you opting out. That nigga opted out. And it's like we're in a society now, like, they got the pictures of shit of Alpo out in the streets up in New York, coming to DC, going to the clubs and all that shit.
Yeah, well,
So, like, Alpo was what, 2-3 generations ago.
Yeah, he
They
took
did a
that deal.
fucking movie about Frank Lucas, made him look like a hero.
Yeah.
Got Denzel and shit. Like, we then started glorifying snitches.
Yeah, that's that's an
So
interesting.
let's not act like this is some new shit in the culture.
Well, but they don't. I don't know about glorifying. They've been showing it in a. They haven't been showing it in such a negative light, but snitching, like, it's still a negative thing. You look at hip hop culture; they talk about how negative it is, and a lot of artists aren't going to ever deal with him again. You look at how they were trying to do T.I. when they thought he was snitching. You look at how people that's
so many snitches. There's so many snitches in hip hop.
I mean, yeah, I ain't
it's so many snitches in hip hop, and most mainstream hip hop artists are agents anyway. Assigned with an agenda for our communities, so they already agents anyway.
So they not really.
How they've contributed to the destruction of our communities. Based on the narratives that they perpetuate and the lyrics that they perpetuate and the images that they perpetuate, they already agents. They already cooperating with the state, back from that meeting out in the West Coast, I think in '91, with the gangster rap and the pharmaceutical companies and the gun companies. Like, so they started making lists of niggas back then in the early '90s of who's going to be cooperating with state governments and federal agents back then, and they've been all throughout hip hop the whole time. And so Tekashi might be about to expose that shit, which is why some of these snitch rappers are coming down on Tekashi. But all of them deserve the same shit.
Well, you said you had a lot for us today, Jay. It looks like
told you, nigga. It's them planets, Patrice. Whatever they doing, what they doing.
Yeah, it's 4 planets in retrograde.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah.
So one of the things that it means is that love is moving backwards, and that's not just romantic love. That's universal love, and the way that we move is going backwards, and that's why right now it's a very important time to be in charge of your energy. That's a whole nother subject, but that's why if you feel a little off, like I'm looking at my timeline, like a lot of people talking about dreams and stuff, like during this time, and they think it's the coronavirus, and that's a contributing to it, but it has a lot to do with what's going on right now in the universe. But,
yeah. So before we get into the interview, I wanted to talk a little bit real quick about with professional sports being yet another casualty of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's been a spike in viewership of sports documentaries, ESPN's 2020 series, and things of that like. More recently, 2 basketball center documentaries have been making waves across pop culture. The first one ended last night. Did you watch the last episode of The Last Dance, Jay? The Chicago Bulls?
I didn't see episode 10 yet. I saw episode 9. I didn't catch because they air them 2 at a time.
Right.
So I didn't see the last one.
I still haven't seen any of them because I'm at work when they air. But a lot of people been talking about.
Dave.
Well, but a lot of people are talking about Michael Jordan's pettiness. How he was like, he did a lot of messed up stuff. Oh, for real? So, like, what was he being petty about? Like, what was the?
Oh, he was an asshole. But it's like he summed it up. He's like, yeah. He was like, you could think I'm being an asshole, I'm being a jerk or whatever. He was like, but you've never won anything. It takes a certain level of assholeness to reach, like in war, you got to hurt people's feelings. Like, if people ain't up to par and ready to go out on the battlefield, fuck their feelings. You got a war to win. You can't, be juggling motherfuckers' emotions and all of that shit. It's like, nigga, get down or lay down.
Okay. And
But I just agree. I agree with his warrior mentality, and his approach to winning and his approach to greatness. Like, he didn't take no bullshit, and he understood that there was a certain level that you have to attain to get to achieve success. And yeah. But if you weren't that type of person, it would seem like he's being mean or he's being an asshole. But it's like, if you are of champion pedigree, you know what that is. So you don't take it personal. Like, you know what he's trying to do. But a lot of people ain't wired the same way. You know what I'm saying? And so some people was like, oh, he was too harsh, so he talked to niggas crazy. But other people, like niggas who had that championship pedigree, knew, like, when he was coming at them, they knew what it was. They're like, oh, this nigga is trying to get the extreme best. He wants me to reach my highest potential. And in order, like Patrice knows this, like, and when you push in your body, it could be a point in your time. Your body has like a second gear that you never know you can get to until you fully exhaust the first gear. And so Jordan would exhaust the fuck out that first gear in people in order for them to get to another level.
Well, all right. And yeah, so the Last Dance documentary is on, what's that, ESPN?
Yeah.
Oh, CNN.
Yeah.
And
that
the other
was a good one though, Dave.
Yeah, and the other one, the latest, entitled Basketball County, It's in the Water, is a documentary focused on the DMV area, and more specifically PG County area, that has spawned a number of NBA stars over the past decade, including Kevin Durant, who the documentary is pretty much centered around. But it talks about a lot of the basketball stars that have come out of this area, how they train differently.
Just PG County.
Just PG County. Well, that's in the area. That's what anyway.
We
How
said
they
out of
train
this
differently.
area. They didn't bring no stars from DC or Montgomery County or none of that. It was just Prince George's County.
Specifically PG County. But yeah, it was a lot
That's
of them
it.
that came out of PG County. It was very,
absolutely.
they did their thing. So check those out if you get a chance. Very interesting documentaries. And now, I would like to talk to our guest. Hi, Jana. She's sitting there like, these niggas is crazy. I can't believe I'm on this. No, but
Fuck up her
I'm listening.
business.
I'm taking it all in.
so yeah, you don't think we crazy? We're a little off, right?
No.
Okay, good.
I appreciate the realness.
Good. That was a test. You just passed it. Boom. Look at that. No. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you. Like, the reason I wanted to have you on here and interview you is, first of all, because I know you, and it's awesome that you're doing such great things, and your motivation for doing such great things is quite interesting and quite beautiful, in my opinion. Your motivation for this journey is an awesome part of the story. Why do people always call me while I'm doing the show? Anyway, it's an awesome part of the story. And I want to get into how you started. Well, actually, first I want to go back to back when it was Regina Blaine, when I knew you in Eastern. Do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up, or did you have an idea of like what direction you were going in at that time?
I wanted to be an architect.
Okay.
My plan was to escape DC and move to California and become this big architect. And sometimes life changes, but in my opinion, it changed for the better.
Right. And I just wanted to kind of give that idea that sometimes you don't know where your path is, and people get so hard on themselves about like not living up to the vision that they have for themselves, when that might not be your path. You learn things through the years and discover things about yourself and your passion, and things change in your life that guide you in different directions. And so it's not always, you don't always have to stay on that, be so stringent, because I see a lot of people who really down on themselves about not being what they thought they had. Well, by this time I thought I was going to be this. I thought your story isn't over. You might have an opportunity to do something great, as you definitely have now.
Just because you haven't done what you planned on doing yet, that doesn't mean you still can't do it.
Right. Yeah. It's still, as long as it's breath in your body, you can still make the moves, So I want to talk a little bit about that motivation that we talked about. I was reading your bio on your website and in some interviews that you've done. You talked about how when your daughter was 9 and she was dealing with living with asthma, that kind of pushed you to make some decisions with how you cook food. And you said it was based on you not being satisfied with like the medicines and things that she was having to take and things like that, right?
Yeah, my daughter has always had asthma, and when she was young, like 2, 3, 4, 5, it was horrible to the point that the emergency room knew us by name. They knew us by face. Like we would walk in, I would walk in irate, holding my baby, and they like, "Oh, hey, Regina," and that wasn't normal for me.
Right, right.
And when she got to middle school, the Buterol, the typical asthma pump they give you,
Mhm.
I didn't like the way it was making her change. It was helping her not have the attacks, but she was tired all the time. She was sluggish. I didn't like it. And then she got to this phase where all of a sudden she wanted to, be around people and join clubs and be a cheerleader in sports. And the doctors told me she wasn't allowed to because of her asthma.
Mm.
I grew up not having people tell me what I can do, what I could do, or what I will do. So when I became a mom, I was going to be the opposite of that.
Mm.
So if my child wants to do something, I'm that mom. Girl, you can do it. So if the doctors wasn't going to tell me that she can, I had to figure it out on my own.
Mm.
So I started to do research and look up things, and I found that a lot of people that suffer from asthma is a big part of that is the processed foods we put in our body. A lot of processed foods has a lot of chemicals in it, and my philosophy is if I can't pronounce it, it doesn't need to be in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, okay, let me try this out. So I stopped buying all of the canned goods because you got to think about it. If it's in a can and that's a fresh vegetable, so they say, how is it that these fresh string beans can live in this can on this shelf for 3+ years?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's some type of chemical in there that's helping it survive.
Right,
so I
right.
stopped buying all of that stuff. I stopped buying all of the Chef Boyardees she liked, and I started making it from scratch, and I noticed a difference in how she was. She wasn't as tired. She didn't need her inhaler as much. We went from being in the emergency room once a month to now maybe once a year. It was a drastic change.
Wow.
And in the process of doing that, I figured, okay, if it's chemicals and things in processed foods, what is in the seasonings? So whenever I went to the grocery store, I would start reading the back of it. And again, it's a bunch of words. Nobody knows what the hell they mean. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. But we shaking it on our food and we putting it on our body. We putting it in our body.
Right.
So I said, okay, if this is paprika or if this is oregano, well, why isn't it just oregano in this container?
Yeah.
Why is it oregano and something like EZ23S?
Right.
So I started making everything fresh, and I noticed how it helped my child with her asthma. It helped me manage my lupus better, and it's something that I stuck with. I never thought to make it into a business until, if I'm completely honest, a little over a year ago.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was my next question is how did you go from, because I always talk about how we have a lot of people whose motivation for starting their companies are noble like yours. Like it comes from a need, and it takes a certain type of person to see that need out there, and instead of just saying, oh man, people need that, that's too bad, and they're just going on with their lives, they say, well, let me actually try to fill this need and provide a healthier or a better alternative to us being provided. So you said that decision came about a year ago, and what was it that made you decide to say, okay, this is working for me and my family, so I can make it work for other people?
I started off with a baking business, baking cakes and cupcakes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had a business. That's actually how I put myself through college.
Oh.
So one day I made something different. You know how you get tired of the same dinner?
Yeah.
So I made something different and I put the spices on it. And my wife was like, "This is good. You should do this. You should add this to your website." And I'm fortunate to have a spouse that's not only a cheerleader for me, but she's also a coach.
Right.
So she gonna be my hype man. So she hyped me up, and I'm like, I don't know. So then I had like a small get together, and I made the same meal, and I knew that if nobody else on this planet is gonna be honest with me, my wife and my best friend was. So when I gave my best friend his plate, his response was, "Oh, this shit good as shit right here." But he didn't know why I made it. He just knew that it tastes good. So I said, okay, let me trans this. I think, people will like it. And then I'll let them know that it's fresh.
Right.
Because sometimes when you are used to eating a certain way, you believe that that's law.
Yeah.
So you used to eating the processed stuff because that's how we grew up. Not saying that our parents was bad for giving us that stuff because they didn't know any better. You shop, you get the things that you feel you can afford, and you feed your family. So it was a transition of trying to get people to understand that you can eat fresh and you can eat healthy, and it can taste just as good as that processed food with all of the chemicals and other agents in it.
Right.
So I did a test run. I put it on my website, and within 2 weeks, I made $600.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me think about this.
Right.
And I just kept doing it, and I kept adding recipes that I've had, and each month it's gone up and up and up.
Okay. Yeah. So you have a number of delicious. I was looking at your website. My mouth was watering. I was drooling, looking at all the pictures of the delicious food you have on there. Do you have what, in your opinion, what's the best dish on there? Like, do you have a favorite?
My mac and cheese.
The mac and cheese. And
Mac and
what makes because everybody, a lot of people make mac and cheese. A lot of people don't make it right, but a lot of people make mac and cheese. What sets yours aside from everybody else's?
The fact that it's creamy and cheesy all at the same time.
Okay.
With some people, you have one or the other.
Right.
One is cheesy, but it's real thick.
Right.
So you don't get that stretch. When you pour your fork out, you want that stretch. So with my mac and cheese, you get that stretch, and you get that creaminess that give you that cheese sound that you want to hear. Everybody know that cheese sound. We
The
not
mac and
going
cheese
to details
noise.
of the cheese noise.
It's only two things you can do to get that noise. I'm not going to talk about the other one. This is a family show. But anyway. But
no, it's not.
That's what makes my mac and cheese delicious.
Great, yeah. So
what's the other thing, Dave?
Huh? Well, anyway,
Yay.
so
Sorry. This quarantine got me crazy out here in these
wilding out. But yeah, and so like you said before, the recipes for all this, the mac and cheese recipe is on the site, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can go to TaylorHomemade.net for all these recipes. It's some just check out the pictures. You'll be writing down the recipes, trying to make the food. Or so I was wondering because I saw the recipes on there. Can they order the food directly from you? Can you make the food for them, or you no, I'm not doing all that? Because I don't want to make it. I want you to make it.
I've been getting this question so much lately.
Okay.
You just do the recipes?
Well, yeah, just telling people.
Oh, hell no.
Well, let her finish. Hold on, let her.
On a plate.
So what I've decided to do is one Saturday a month, I'm going to announce where I'm going to be at, and I'll have a menu of what I'm cooking for that day. And you can purchase plates.
Yeah.
One day a week.
Gotta surprise the man.
One day a month.
What?
Where's your wife? I need to talk to her to cheerlead for more days out the month.
Well,
Where's
you gotta
she?
start.
Where's
You gotta
she
start
at?
on the trial basis.
Hey,
You gotta start on the trial basis.
Nah,
When are you
Once
starting
a month. What kind of shit is that?
Regina,
I'm
when are you
starting
starting
at
the once a month?
the first Saturday of June.
First
Come in,
Saturday
babe.
of June.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, so
Come in, babe.
So yeah, we'll have everything on the website. Oh, she gonna call her in here.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Somebody want to speak to you.
Yeah, tell her to get on camera.
Don't nobody care what you look like. It's quarantine.
See, that's what I was thinking. She might
Yeah,
not have
it
been
looks like.
prepared to come and be,
So they
useful at this moment.
they asked me if I sell the actual food or is it just the recipes. And I said I've been thinking about it. And he said, "Where's your wife at?"
Because you said she was your cheerleader, so she references. Well, I guess you listened to her encouragement, so that's why I was like, well, where is she at? So we can ask her to do more than just once a month. We need like at least twice a month.
I think that
And
she
while
could do it. I think that she could do it more often than that.
See, there we go. It worked. Boom. How often? How often do you think? Without stressing her out and giving her like too much pressure.
Realistically, probably 2 weekends a month. That's what.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said about twice a month. And I can't ask this shit and I not get nothing. So I definitely will get something. All right, so we all in unison. This is live. It's being recorded.
Wait, you
So we
can't
going
make her
twice
change
a
her
month.
business model. See, let me apologize for Jay. I'm trying to explain to him that in business you have to test it out first. You can't just jump out there, and that's what Gina's trying to do. She's been running her own
Well, since
business
they
all
done
this time
called me
without you,
out.
Jay. Go ahead. What you
Sister
saying?
and my wife done called me out.
Yep.
Right.
I'll do 2 times in June.
Well, I mean,
2 weekends a month.
And then that'll be the trial. So if it don't work with 2 times, you feel like it's still go back to 1 time.
Mhm.
And I knew I had to go get the cheerleader because I knew you was gonna listen to her. You might not listen to us, but I knew who to bring in the conversation.
alright.
Yeah, all right, Patricia, had a moment over there?
Yeah, my phone, I flipped it around. Is it right now?
Yeah, you good. We can see you again.
I thought a weird bug. I had to get off the ground.
Yeah, I seen you panicking. I was like, we just gonna keep talking. We're not gonna
I
make
was
a
like,
big.
everything's closed right now.
but so yeah, then so I'm just look. You have a talk with your wife. Don't listen to Jay. He's one of those people that'll make
I
you.
know. She gonna be in
I've been
trouble when we
getting
get off this
Right.
phone.
that so much. People been asking me, when you gonna start selling this? When you gonna start selling this? And I just been like, oh.
Yeah,
I've been a little scared. You know, sometimes you get into your own head, especially when you start a business.
Definitely.
And starting a business within our community is kind of hard.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we are taught without knowing that ownership isn't a good thing.
Right.
So a lot of times when people around you hear that you want to own something, maybe you want to own your own home, or maybe you want to own your own business, sometimes they're not supportive.
Right.
So you will hear most times.
Yeah.
Most times you will hear a lot of the naysayers and all of the people who will tell you that you can't, you shouldn't, and you won't. And sometimes that gets embedded in your head, and that holds you back sometimes.
Right.
And honestly, that's what held me back, because I've been holding on to recipes and spices and things since my daughter was in middle school, and she just finished up her 2nd year of college.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's with anything you want to do in life, especially if you're interested in starting a business of any kind. I don't care what type of business it is, if it's food related, if it's hair related, maybe it's fitness or whatever. Just do it. Don't listen to nobody else, because a lot of the times people that tell you, that put a lot of energy in telling you what you can't do and what you shouldn't do, and that something won't work, they're saying that because they're frugal to do it themselves.
Right. Coming from Patrice, the wind is really blowing over there. You ain't want to.
I'm
You ain't want to get in.
Find shelter,
You ain't want to get in your car. Yeah.
It sound like you in a monsoon out there.
Yeah, see, it's about to swept up by the Wizard of Oz. But and I want you to be able to hear this, because I wanted you to speak to that. I know you you also started your own business, and have been through a lot of the obstacles. And Gina, I'm glad you brought that up because before I get Patrice to talk, I wanted to ask you, Gina, what were some of the biggest obstacles that you faced in the attempt to, outside of what you already talked about people who should be supporting you, kind of putting their own fears on you. But other than that, what are some of the obstacles that you faced, in starting your business?
The biggest obstacle was me.
Mm.
I allowed so many people in my life to force their idea of what my life should be on me.
Mm.
So allowing that, I gave them right, ownership, and gave them the deed to my life.
Mm.
So not knowing that, the end result of doing that is I'm out here living, but I wasn't living.
Right, you living for them.
I was living for them.
Yeah.
And when you living for them, you living your life the way they want it, so they're happy. But what about you?
Exactly.
So I was my biggest obstacle, and it took me to realize that I gotta live for me. What am I tripping over how they feel for? They ain't do shit.
Right.
If they felt this way, why didn't they do this themselves, or why
Right.
didn't they do that? So honestly, my biggest obstacle was me. I could have been started my business.
Yeah.
I could have been got it off the ground. It's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but sometimes in life plans don't go the way you intend them to.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the plans always end up the way they supposed to.
Mm.
So I feel like I didn't start my business when I wanted to start my business, but the place I'm in right now with my business is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
So yeah, that's great. I want to ask you, and I'm gonna ask you and Patrice. You both are, women who started businesses. I'm gonna start with you, Gina. What was your turning point? Because you talked about that fear and that living for other people. Was there a specific moment that you realized that, oh, I can't do this anymore? I need to, was there something that happened, or was it just something that gradually you kind of started to realize that you need to start moving toward working for yourself, or was it something that pushed you in that direction?
The moment what happened, not to get too deep, but
Yeah, I
the
saw that little
moment
giggle.
didn't
I
have
feel
the
like it was
moment
deep. It's deep.
the moment didn't have anything to do with business. It wasn't business related at all.
Okay.
I was going through fertility treatment,
Mm.
and I got a call from a family member, and you know how when you in pain or you're not feeling good, people can sense something's wrong, and they asked me what was wrong, and I told them I was like, oh, I'm fine, I'm just a little uncomfortable because my egg's swollen, but I'm fine. What's up? And their response was to go off because they said it was selfish of me for being on that journey. I should be investing my money within the family and helping the family out more and helping my siblings more. And I just remember I was so hurt that when I hung up on them, I just sat in that moment and I cried. And when my tears dried, I just felt like that wasn't me crying, that was my soul crying. And I needed that release in order to realize that I've invested too many years of my life trying to please them.
Mm.
So now all of the rewards that I have from the hard work that I've done, now I'm expected to give it to them. What's left for me?
Right.
So it was like, okay, fuck them. Let me focus on me, and I'm about to do everything I wanted to do. It's kind of like what Cardi B said in one of her songs on her album. She was like, she climbed to the top just so she could spit on people.
Mm.
That was my moment of feeling like I'm about to prove all of y'all wrong. Every time you told me I couldn't do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Every time you told me I can't do something, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it better. So the first thing I started to focus on was my business because everybody told me I couldn't do it because I used to be quiet. They thought I was timid. They thought I was a pushover. So how could you be strong enough to run a business?
Yeah.
So I did my business, started my business, invested in my business myself, do everything for my business myself, And now I'm running my business, and I'm to that place now where I'm trying to find a location.
Right.
So you have to do what's best for you.
Right.
You know, everybody, unfortunately, in our community, we ain't gonna have no cheerleaders.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we ain't gonna have nobody to push you. So you gotta push yourself.
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare to have people to cheer you on. But I was gonna ask. Oh, there she is. Okay, I was gonna ask Patrice the same question. Was there a moment that you kind of decided to start living for yourself, or I mean, well, you had always kind of been doing that, but the moment
Yeah.
you decided to start your business and stuff, like, was there something that pushed you over that edge? And the reason I'm asking both of you is because I know it's women out there, it's people out there who who are kind of in that place, who are looking to begin something, start that journey, but they're scared, and fear is a real thing, but it's completely and 100% conquerable. It's
Well,
so yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry. So
so so first things first, I don't believe fear is real. I believe fear is a compilation of stories that we've either told ourselves or heard them from others, about what might happen, what might not happen, and we gravitate towards that energy. So I try not to embrace fear as being real. The
okay.
second thing is, um, when did I actually? So I've always been kind of a person that moves. Um, I don't know, for lack of a better term, I'm going to do what I want to do because I always live outside of the box. I always think outside of the box. Um, my dad was a huge uh, motivation and inspiration for me to jump out there and be an entrepreneur and work for myself. He worked for himself. Um, and like I told you guys before, but I'll say it again, like he was a reason that when I was sitting at my job, I used to do, I don't know if you guys are familiar with PeopleSoft. I loved my job, but I wanted to do my own thing. It was, I'm one of those people like I said, you can't put me in a box. And I just wanted to jump out there. And I called my dad, and he was like, "What's your reason for staying at your job?" And he said, I told him, I said, "It's just health insurance." He was like, "Well, if that's the only reason, go ahead, jump out there." And that's what I did. Um, I think that most people, we want to feel stability, whether it's financial stability or just to be what we've always learned we should be. Like, everybody should get a paycheck every other Friday or once a month.
Yeah.
Everybody should, live, kind of within this level of conformity that we've been taught. But when you have, I think entrepreneurship is a spirit. Like it's an innate thing that you sit back and you have it, and no matter how much you fight it, whether you in a job part time or you in a job full time trying to do it on the side, it talks to you and it speaks to you every single day. So for me, I just never look back at the level of conforming like I was. For me, that's what it is. A lot of people, they don't like when entrepreneurs talk about not working for somebody else because so many other people do. And I'm not knocking it. I mean, some days, hell, I wish, especially right now, I wish I did have a check coming in every other Friday. But um, being in that space of really wanting to have your own business and be able to call your own shots and be able to go to your kids' events or be there for them when you choose to be. It's a different type of motivation. Like, I really don't know how to explain it without sounding a little arrogant. But I'll never, even now in this space where I haven't gotten paid since March. So even now in this space, I don't want to go work for anybody else. I still want to figure out the gifts that I've been blessed with, how I can use them to help other people, but also to help me, my son, and make everything work. So I guess to answer your question in a nutshell, it's an innate thing that when you're a true entrepreneur, you can't fight it. It's in there,
Yeah.
and you vibe with it and you roll with it, and Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So she kind of described that moment. Gina, I know you said you worked for nonprofits for a while. Was it straight from that you went into cooking? Are you at the point now where you're not where you're like not doing the 9 to 5 thing anymore yet, or
I'm still doing the 9 to 5
yeah?
because the state benefits is like a lottery ticket. um,
Yeah, yeah,
What I was talking about.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I'm kind of in the field she was in with PeopleSoft, so
Mm.
I'm at that space where I know I can jump out there and do it myself full time right now. But I think it's kind of like what she said was holding me back is the need to have stability.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And with my job is paying for my daughter's tuition.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's like, uh, yeah, I know I could make what I'm making now if I do it myself, but
Yeah. There's other
her
things that come
college is
along with it.
expensive. Let me think about this. So it's
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of like a
Yeah.
tug of war, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So, but like she said, it's that innate spirit, and I feel like when you were saying like you were quiet and timid and things of that. I don't know if that's what I remember of you from high school, but we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, you definitely have that spirit, and so it's coming, and it's coming in time. Um,
Can I say something to the sister real
no, you
quick?
can. I'm sorry. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say so. Everything that I just said, that I jumped out there, and I did, quit my job. It's been 11 years. It'll be 11 years in July. But one thing, if I could go back and do it all over again, so you're in a position where I was back then, I would have planned better. I would have planned better financially. Because right after I did that, I got really, really sick. I was in the hospital for 30 days. I went through a lot, and I didn't have the liquid cash that I should have saved or that I should have invested in myself to prepare me for my entrepreneurial journey. So if I could just share with you a little bit of advice from the experience that I had, start stockpiling, start investing, whether it's stocks, gold, whatever it is you want to invest in, but also invest in your business. So like every paycheck, this is something I should have done. Every paycheck I should have put something aside or purchased something. So I'm in fitness, also maybe I should have purchased a piece of equipment, or maybe in your business you can purchase the things that you need for the store that you're opening up, and take it step by
Oh, it's getting real good, and now it's
step.
oh, man.
I hope that helps you in some way.
That was awesome advice, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a great segue into my next question. I was going to ask you because you talked about in one of your interviews I was reading when I was researching for this. I saw you talked about some really good advice that you received at one point, Gina. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about. So, what do you feel like is the best advice you've received so far about business?
The best advice I've received thus far regarding business
Besides what
is
Patrice just said to you.
is to fund it myself.
Okay.
Don't use credit. If you
Mm.
can, start it yourself. And I thought that was great advice for me
Yeah.
because I'm a former identity theft victim.
Mm.
So I know how difficult it can be once you get into debt to get out of debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a couple of awesome business owners. One of our former classmates, Delanya, I think you had her on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, she told me the same thing, like,
Yeah.
start off small because she did it herself.
Right.
She was
Yeah.
working and she'll invest a little bit into her business and allow your investments to basically pay you back.
Right.
So the
Right.
best advice I received was definitely how was financial and how to make sure that I'm making the best financial decisions for me. Because I can easily go out here and get a bunch of credit cards and
Right.
rush and do everything for my business now, and then it's always that small chance of what if it doesn't work.
It's a trap, nigga. It's a trap. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Don't.
Like, what if it doesn't work? So now you got all of these credit cards maxed out,
Right.
your business is done, but you still left with that debt. So the best advice I've received thus far was financial.
Great. So I was watching your segment on Good Morning Washington. You made the blueberry pancakes. How did that come about? How did that interview or that segment come about? How did you get the opportunity to do that?
Um, well, I have an Instagram page for my business, and I was reached out. This PR lady from, I believe it's Montag PR.
Okay.
She reached out to me, and she offered me the opportunity to be on the show. And basically, she offered me the opportunity to be on the show so that I could eventually, hopefully, be a client of hers.
Oh. Okay.
So she gave me the guest spot, and it was an awesome experience. She was great.
Yeah.
The staff at the morning show was great. I was terrified. I was terrified. But it definitely was a great experience. It was a blessing.
Yeah, I saw the blueberry pancakes that you made, and it made me realize how long it's been since I had blueberry pancakes. So if I cash app you some money right now, I'm just playing. We'll work it out. We'll talk after the show.
June 1st, Dave.
June 1st. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready to cash out for some mac and cheese.
Yeah. That's a signature dish. So you talked a little bit about the spices and the infused oils that you sell on your. I try to make sure I say oil now because my girl is always getting on me like, why you say oil? It's a DC thing, right, Jay? You say oil.
DC,
It's oil. But anyway, but yeah. So the
You
infused.
went to Howard, man. It's oil.
Nah, that ain't got nothing to do with it. It's still oil. Anyway.
It does. It has a lot to do with it. It's the bougiest college in the world, nigga. You better say
I don't know
oil
about that.
correctly.
I don't know. It's like Morehouse. And
Because you went there.
But let me focus on the question.
I'm sorry. I haven't said anything in a long time. They had to get it out.
Remind niggas you was here. But yeah, so you talked a little bit about how you got into making spices, seeing all the ingredients in there and all that. So that seems to be like one of the focuses of your business. Like, what about the spice blends really stuck out to you and made you want to focus on that?
I was just intrigued how spices, all of this stuff grow. All of it grow out of the ground. It's fresh, and it amazed me the amount of flavors you can get from fresh spices. I don't know about you guys, but I was so used to buying the cheap spices from the grocery
The dollar store,
usually
yeah.
Walmart. Not even McCormick got
Right.
that $1 they have in a bin.
It just
all
says
spices
salt on it.
And you shake it on there, and you think you can taste stuff, but you really can't taste anything
right.
unless you use pepper.
Right. Yeah.
So it was intriguing to me of how much you can manipulate fresh spices and get different flavors every time. You can use this one spice. Let's take paprika for example. I use paprika in 4 of my spice blends. None of them have the same flavor. So it was intriguing how much you can manipulate it.
Yeah, that's wild. It's like like a mad scientist over there developing new flavors and stuff. I'm check out the spice blends myself because I'm getting my cooking game together. I've been doing more since
No, you're not, Dave.
you ain't know you never. Hey,
Tell the truth, Jay.
hey, you was you remember the turkey burgers? Jay?
I do remember.
Yeah, see? But anyway.
I digress.
But anyway, yeah.
Sis, can you give your I'm sorry, I know you're going to do it at the end of the show, but I just want to know right now. Can you give your Instagram? You said you had an Instagram page. What is it?
It's Homemade _.
Hella Homemade?
Taylor Homemade. She got she's
Homemade.
You from DC too?
Yeah.
Tell her.
See, he was
Keep
making
on.
fun of your cooking ability.
Yeah. That's what he does. Yeah.
By the end of summer, I will be hosting a cooking class.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I'll have people come and I'll teach them how to cook. It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. And I might send you some spices since you can't cook.
Well, I'm
Judging
finna.
from his facial expression, you can't cook that well.
No, I'm good at what I do, but
And
but
see, in my spices,
mhm.
you could put this stuff on a boot.
Oh,
and
you
it'll
got your
take
own spices?
Yeah,
It's your
she
shit?
has her own
Put that
spices.
shit up to
Have
the
you
camera?
been listening, Jay? Have you been listening, Jay? She has her own spices. I'm gonna post the pictures of it. Yeah.
Taylor homemade. She got a label and shit.
Yeah, everything. I'm trying to say,
And I
and
have
infused
Oh
oils.
shit!
Infused
What the fuck is
oils.
that? Vinegar?
No, it's
Oil?
infused oils.
oil,
Listen, he
What
don't.
kind of oil?
olive oil.
Olive oil. Damn, that shit came from some olives.
Yeah. But,
I'm talking about.
but yeah, no, I'm gonna purchase some because I don't, and I appreciate you, offering to send me. But I'm I always like to support. I'm gonna purchase some of your
Oh
spices.
yeah, I gotta get my
spices,
shit from
definitely.
you.
Definitely. I think Patrice just rolled out on us. But
Fuck that. She gonna get some oil.
right, she gonna order right now,
Right
immediately.
now, I need to use my phone and cash out. You see, she went off soon as she got the Instagram. What's the Instagram?
Right.
She gone.
disappeared, right. But we are gonna post it, and I'm gonna get you to say it again before we wrap up. But I do want to ask you the question. There's two questions that I always ask all of my guests, and I always like the answers that I get. It's usually pretty introspective. So the first one, Gina, is if you had an opportunity to talk to, let's say, 13-year-old Regina, if you could go back in the time machine and meet yourself and have a conversation, being through everything you've been through in your life, having all the wisdom that you have now as an adult, what would that conversation be like? What kind of things would you say to 13-year-old Regina?
I would tell 13-year-old me to chill. It's not that bad. Yeah, I would tell her it's not that bad. I went through a lot of emotional things growing up. So for me, I carried a lot of baggage.
Mm,
So, and carrying that baggage made me grow up a little too soon.
mm,
So I would definitely tell myself to like slow down
okay.
because I became an adult too fast when I did not need to. And it actually made life a little more difficult than what it could have been. So I would tell young me to just relax and just enjoy this ride.
Right. That's sound advice. That's sound advice. And the second question that I always ask, so and sometimes it's the same answer, but separating it from the personal, like I said, there are a lot of young women and people out there who are looking into getting into opening their own business, whether it be through food and cooking or any kind of business. If you were able to talk to them, what kind of advice would you give them, or what would you say to them? People always look for that first step. Like, what's the first step? What should they do?
To just do it.
Yeah.
Stop making excuses and make moves.
Yeah.
Just do it. You wanna?
Yeah, Dave.
If you serious about your business, come up with a name.
Right.
Now you
Right.
got a name for your business. Make you some social media business profiles. You
Right.
need a business profile, not another personal profile because it's different.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
you want a business profile because you want to be able to market.
Right.
So if you're serious about this, get you a name, get you some social media, build your own website.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things that you can do yourself. You don't just do it.
Yeah.
It's not as difficult as people make it seems to be.
Right.
Being a business owner is hard. It's hard as hell. But starting your business, if you got the passion to do it and this is something you really want to do, you can get it done. It's not as expensive as people tell you. I think that's one of the main reasons a lot of people don't open their business. I know a lot of people out here who have some dope products. I mean, products that need to be out there, but they're scared to open a business because they have it in their head that they can't afford it because it's too expensive. I'm not going to be able to afford to get this business card or get this website. Why can't you?
Right.
You don't have to pay them big companies to do this. You can do it yourself.
Invest in
Go
yourself.
into a Winks account for $20
Yeah. And make it happen.
and make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. That's sound advice, man. I tell people all the time. It's people that want to do exactly what you're doing, that's doing more than you with less than you have. Just go. Yeah, so
Let's go.
that's some great advice. So
If you got a phone, you could be a business owner.
stamp, exactly. You got this powerful tool in your hand and you use it for looking at cat videos and looking at Facebook and Instagram all day. But
It's
you know.
2020. This not like back when we was in high school with them flip phones. That's
Right.
your thumb hurt just to text.
Right. I had a razor, but
And our cell phones now, you can write a whole book on your cell phone
exactly.
and
So,
publish it from your cell phone.
right,
So
exactly.
why aren't you using your cell phone to start your business?
Yeah. So if you really want to do it, you definitely can do it. So I want you to, before we get out of here, I want you to one more time let people know where they can find you, your website, your social media, all of that.
You can find me on my website at www.tellerhomemade.net. Make sure you subscribe. If you subscribe to my website, you'll be first to know when I post new recipes, when I post cooking videos, or when I have new products launching. You can also follow me on Facebook at Teller Easy Homemade, and you can follow me on Instagram at TellerHomemade_.
And and for the people who aren't from DC, that's Taylor Home. I'm just messing with it. Taylor.
It's TAYLOR.
Homemade.
I got that southeast accent.
Yeah.
So whenever I say my
Pretty
last
much.
name, so whenever I say my last name, people be thinking I'm talking about a bank teller.
We
Yeah,
went to
tell
Our
her.
Lady.
Right.
They taught us how to pronounce shit.
Anyway. And then I got the Eastern and lost all of it. That's why I say oh. But
All your shit,
anyway.
But then you made it back up at Howard, Dave. Good job.
Kinda, somewhat, a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, Gina, I want to thank you so much for coming through for
Yeah, this was good,
preparing
yeah.
for telling us your
Yeah,
story, for
thank
being,
See you on June 1st, nigga. Yeah.
we gonna be in the building. And yeah, when
Yes,
you when you get ready to do it, send me the information and we'll post it on our social media sites to make sure that all our viewers
Thank
know
you.
where you
Because
gonna
you
be.
said you're going to post the location too, right? For the twice a month joints?
Twice a month. I live in Baltimore now.
Oh, that's cool. We got to
I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
twice a month.
Hey, we got to do an event. I
I'll
didn't know you was in Baltimore. We going to do an event with you.
Yeah, okay. I'll
Yeah.
do one in DC and I'll do one in the Baltimore area.
Right, yeah. So Jay is a manager of Nubian Human. They have a location in the Anacostia Arts Center. They sell how would you describe it, Jay? African American centric items. Everything in this store was made by black people. So
we cater to people of color.
yeah, and they just opened a location in Baltimore. Well, not just opened. It's been about a
Now
year,
it just
right?
opened back up, so we could come back in too.
Yeah.
Where's your location?
It's on Reed Street in Mount Vernon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So check it out if you get a chance. But that's why he was saying he'll try to set up an event with you. So I'll make sure y'all get each other's info so y'all can try to make that happen. And like I said, man, thank you so much for coming and talking to us and hanging out and listening to us rant about different stuff. Yeah, and so on behalf of myself, Super Dave, Jason, DC's native son, and Miss Fruitfit herself, Patrice, and our guest, Regina Taylor. I keep wanting to say Regina Blaine. Regina Taylor, TaylorHomemade.net. Thank you guys for watching. This has been another episode of Neighborish. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.